Hi guys. Today I want to talk about ritualistic abuse a little more in detail. I see it's been coming up a lot on the media apps about it, and some things are good and some things are not so good, and that concerns me. As a person that has been through horrific religious abuse, I find that the way that it's presented is actually hurtful in some aspects. Ritual abuse is not a joke. And I want to read you something from Dr. Tom Knotts Jr.'s book here about the sensory deprivation from cult abuse, and those that have been through it will relate. Number one is numbness. There can be specific body parts or organs that become numb when triggered. The targeted area sensation can range from the skin feeling like leather that is desensitized to a complete loss of all sense of feeling. The loss can be to the point that the person has to look at the part to know if it is being touched. I've been through that, to where you don't feel any pain because you get to the point when they're hurting you and hurting you and hurting you, that you just numb it out. An example of that is being pinched with pliers over and over in numerous areas. And I can remember vaguely how the pain was so much that I literally would pass out at times and then come to, and then in order to pass out again. So I don't find people talking about this. It's more of a joke, especially on TikTok apps. So let's talk about number 2, tingling. The afflicted area will have tingling sensations that can range from mild nervous reactions to electrifying feelings that can be quite painful. I have seen cases where it has only affected the person's fingertips, with the feeling of energy going through the fingertip of the person. I have also worked with individuals whose entire legs have gone completely numb, and they have lost all feeling and ability to move the legs voluntarily. I have also seen extreme cases where the reactive state caused the body parts to move, jump, and twitch uncontrollably. And in therapy, I've had to hear stories about my alters reacting in this manner to where they won't move. Their legs won't move. I have even smaller, littler altars where their hands will be clenched like this because of the pain they're feeling, somatic symptoms. And these are things that people don't talk about with ritualistic abuse. Number 3 is reoccurring rashes. Because of the type of trauma/abuse that has been afflicted, the somatic body memories can be triggered to replay the past effect of the abuse in their minds. It is not uncommon for SRA/DID survivors to have rashes that reoccur in opportune moments when going through the healing process. This is because the body's memories are being released, causing a re-triggering effect. I've had that as well, to where my body temperature will rise so high that I'll actually get a rash on my face. It hasn't been pretty recently, but I can remember times where I couldn't figure out, okay, why do I have this rash? The body reacts to trauma in so many ways. Number 4 is twitching. Twitching are nervous, involuntary movements of such body parts as hands, fingers, legs, and eyelids. These twitches go beyond simple cathartic anxiety regulators. I have seen many individuals that, when triggered, will have their eyelids bat up and down uncontrollably. There are many unconscious release mechanisms that are often tied to sensory amnesia episodes. They are means of regulation for detachment. When the brain is separating the physical duress from the mind and memories of the individual. I go through that as well. There are times where my whole body will shake when in a memory that an altar is trying to show me from that abuse. It is, again, I will repeat, and I have repeated in various videos, it's like death. It is the most painful, hardest thing to go through. I could break down. I don't want it. I don't want it anymore. Here they talk about something else that is very interesting. Remember how I had spoken about the left and right brain being split to protect smaller altars? I'm thinking that's how this here goes. It states, this place into the mind of the developing child that the particular identity could be a beast or character that will use scriptures on the mark of the beast to enforce the belief to the child's mind. The mind of the child believes it is a child of sin and that it is a beast. It values and its belief system will enable it to give itself over completely to performing whatever the owner says. They create initial split of the brain vertically at about the 3 months of age of life by acting of extreme pain/torture. This can continue on into teenhood and even adulthood. This one-time act is done with the mother holding the child's head and looking into the eyes. This can cause helplessness and hopelessness. The intense pain completely splits the mind, creating a left or right division in the brain. The beast is the part that will hold all the pain of the original split. All further hatred, pain, rage, and bitterness will be held by this beast at the base of the brain. This will tell the child that it is the child of sin, birthed in sin and pain, giving it over to a demon-like alternative. When creating the part known as this, the programmer will convince the identity that it is not human. They tell it that it is a beast or a person of sin. They will at this time period summon many different identities to control. It sounds pretty religious, and in a way it is. And I can remember in around the year 2000 when I was part of the old Roman Catholic cult, they talked a lot about this mark of the beast, down from being chipped, things like crosses in the sky, keeping an eye out to where your origination should be. The words of Ruth were really embedded because they talk about, your neighbor's my neighbor, blah, blah, blah. And that was something that was really embedded, that you shall take care of your family. Very heavy duty stuff. So in this little bit of the chapter that Dr. Tom Knotts Jr. talks about here, he talks about the sensory deprivational states. And what that means is that when you're a child, a little child, a teenager, and you're going through ritualistic abuse, it can cause your sensories to have many issues and amnesia. The creepiest part that I found in this book and I've had to put this book down a few times. It's a new book, and it's not old, and it's been very hard to read it because of the details in it. But it talks about, here it says, they will have the brain learn of all their characteristics, commands, linguistics, etc. This cloning ensures that the person will continue a life of obedience and also keeping and furthering the work of the programmer in the children and grandchildren. So what they're talking about here is, when you're in a cult-like setting, they want to train you to do every command that they ask you to do. It's right down to, like my example, food deprivation, sleep deprivation, water This is a very hard topic for me to talk about. And the weird thing is I wasn't part of cult abuse when I was younger, but the fact that I had abuse, sexually and physically, around the ages of 3 or 4, my brain had already done this split, where I was already, how do I put this? I had DID. So when this ritualistic abuse took place when I was 15, 16 years old, it had made more issues. The thing with cult abuse is it doesn't leave you, and there is, to me, some of these people claiming it, they have no proof of it. If you talk to people from like the FLDS, people that have escaped real religious abuse, they carry things with them. They're very traumatized. They're very scared of these people coming back from that cult to hurt them. So some of these depictions of religious abuse seem very false to me. Another subject that I want to bring into this is the False Memory Syndrome Foundation, which all of a sudden seems to be, since I've brought it up about 2 or 3 months ago, been getting around media apps. If you don't know you're part of that, or you don't have the paperwork to verify that, please stop talking about it, because if you don't know about it or you haven't been involved in it, you shouldn't educate on it. Okay? Back in 1993 to 1997, I had a severe court case where I was abused, first-degree sexual assault of a child. Okay? When this come into light after I had told a teacher at school what was happening and it was taken care of, it took a year or two just to even get the court case to launch because I was too scared to talk. Okay? During that time, when they finally did make a court case, my abuser's lawyer was from the False Memory Syndrome Foundation. And I investigated it and I studied it and I looked it up. And this man, when he had asked me questions in the courtroom as a child, there were questions that were sick. And I hate this man because he would ask questions like, if I enjoyed having that with my abuser. Those are not questions that are appropriate in a court setting. And for that man to ask such a question to a child shows the true demonic people of the False Memory Syndrome Foundation. I have paperwork on that, and I've worked very hard to show how awful these people are. I think it's time that people stop glamorizing trauma and whose mental health is worse than another's, because this is making it difficult for people that really have been through it. So that's all I have today on that. It was kind of hard to talk to you about these things, and I'm going to try to talk a little bit more about this aspect of my life. Again, I repeat, it follows you, and the things that you hold dear to you, trinkets, necklaces, rosaries, you name it, they follow you because your mind doesn't really want to forget. It wants to work through it. And I think that's something that people don't talk about, and they sure as heck don't show proof on it. So some do to a point, but it's usually not glamorized and it's not cosplayed and it's serious. So that's all I have today, guys. I hope you found this helpful. You're more than welcome to use this in your therapy. I'm sure there's other people that have had RA issues. I haven't found anybody with Roman Catholic issues like I have, but again, the nun that done this to me really wasn't a nun. She was a faker of the Sisters of Mercy group. So And investigators found that out. And last I know, she's in prison for trying to kidnap children out of the Philippines. So she had various places she took off to, Iowa, Argentina, you name it. And hopefully she stays there. So that's all I got today, guys. Love you. Bye.